Guys, welcome back to my channel. Perpetual here. If you're new, you're warmly welcome, and thank you so much for joining me today as we make some palmnutsoup or Abenkwan in Tree. Guys, come along and let's get started. So to get started on my palmnutsoup, I am going to boil my palm nut or my palm fruit, and I am adding some turkey berries or bedru to it. And I'm going to be boiling this for a good hour, hour and a half, because this is a large portion. So because making Abenkwan is such a strenuous task, what I like to do is make a bulk portion of my palm nut and bedru or turkey berries, and I pound it and then divide it into 2 or 3 portions so that I can freeze a portion for any other time that I want to make Abenkwan. So that is exactly what I am doing right now. So when I'm ready to make my palmnutsoup, I have my pulp there and I have the rest of my ingredients that I'm using today. And I'm going to get started by cleaning my adwene or my smoked fish, and I also have some salmon or smoked mackerel that I'll be using, so I'm going to get that prepared and I will set it aside. You want to make sure that you give your adwene a really good wash. Same with the crab, and I also like to take the very ends of the legs off. That's just a personal preference, and again, you want to make sure you give it a really good rinse as well. And guys, if you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button right away. And if you have, thank you so much. So for today's Abenkwan, I am going to be using goat meat. So I'm going to start the base of my soup with my goat meat, and I'm going to add a lot of onions. These are about 2 really large onions, and I'm going to add some salt as well. I am not going to add any water at this stage just because my goat meat is somewhat frozen. It has not thawed completely, so I will get residual water from that. So I covered it up to cook for about 10 to 15 minutes, and guys, this amount of time will depend on how hard the goat meat that you're using is. And I am also adding my adwene at this point, and I've added a little bit of momome as well. Momome is just fermented fish. It is totally optional and you do not really taste it, but it really enhances the flavor of the soup. And I went ahead and added a little bit more of the momome. So I'm going to cover it up and allow it to continue cooking, and while that goes on, I'm gonna get started on my palm. What I am doing here is adding some hot water, and because it is so hot, I'm using a wooden spoon to stir it up. This is going from frozen because I made this the day before and I just froze my portions. Now when it cools down a little bit more, I'm going to use my hands to get out all the pulp and the nut, and what will be left over is just the cream, but of course there will still be a lot of pulp in it, like little pieces of pulp. So I am going to strain this. Now guys, I only show it straining it once, but I typically strain it twice or 3 times. And guys, before we continue, I truly really need your help in growing this family. So be sure to share with your friends, family, enemies, share with everybody that you know so that we can all grow together. So the base of our soup is looking really good. So I'm going to go ahead and add a few more ingredients before we keep going. So I'm going in with my salmon or smoked mackerel. It is known as salmon in the market, so if you go looking for it, you have to say salmon. And I am also adding a bit of crab. I have about 6 to 7 pieces that I'm going to add. And then we will now be ready to add the palm nut. So we have that set on the side. I'm gonna go ahead and pour it all into my soup. And guys, when I pour it, I leave just a little bit at the end because there seems to be a little bit of the seeds from the turkey berries. And I always just keep that aside just so that I do not get that pulp into my soup. Okay guys, so after adding my tomatoes and 1 large onion, I went ahead to add a little bit more water. So what I did was I rinsed out the excess pulp that I had and strained it again and added it to my soup. And then when I was done with that, I realized that I have a lot of soup, like a lot of liquid around. So I did not want it to spill over onto my stovetop. So what I'm doing is just setting some aside right now so that when it cooks down a bit, I will go ahead and add it back into the soup. So after about 10 minutes, it has cooked down enough for me to go ahead and add the one that I set aside. You want to add it early enough so that it incorporates into the rest of the soup and cooks evenly with it. Give it a quick stir and lower the heat and allow your soup to cook away. I have 1 large onion as well as some garlic. I'm going to be adding some ginger and some habanero or scotch bonnet pepper, and I'm going to add all of that into the blender, and then I'm gonna go back to my soup and take out my tomatoes and my onion that is in the soup, and I will be adding that to blend. And what I am doing right now is skimming off all the palm oil that I can get from the soup. Guys, if you get an excessive amount of palm oil, feel free to set some aside, and your abomu, the next time you make some, will be at a different level because this oil is packed with flavor. With that being said, what I am going to be doing with my palm oil today, and I always make this when I make Abenkwan, it's just how my mom taught us how to make it, so we make it this way all the time. We're going to use the palm oil to fry the pepper and tomato and onion mix that I am about to blend. So once I get my tomatoes and my onions out, I will be blending it along with the pepper, the raw onions, the ginger, and the garlic. Now when I go to blend it, I am only adding a little bit of water, just enough to allow it to blend. I don't want a lot because I'm going to be frying it in the palm oil that I set aside. And if you add a lot of water, it will just take a lot longer for it to fry. That's the only reason why. So I'm going to give it a quick stir and allow it to cook on low heat until it is nice and fragrant. Last bit that I added was just a little bit that was left over from the blender. Alright, so after about 5 minutes, our pepper mix is ready. And I am just going to quickly check on my soup, give it a nice stir. And now that I can see that our pepper mix is good to go, I am going to add a tiny bit of Maggi seasoning cube. I used about half of the small cube. Totally optional. You do not have to do it if you do not want to, but it just enhances flavor. So I'm gonna go ahead and pour my pepper mix into my soup, and it looks and smells amazing, guys. It smells better than it looks right now. So now that my pepper is in, going to give it a gentle stir just to allow it to cook nicely and well incorporated. A little bit of green chilies or petite belle chilies or papo chateau or green habaneros or scotch bonnet, whatever type of chilies you want to add, you can at this point. Now this makes the soup look a lot nicer because it gives it a contrasting color pop, and it is also great for people like my husband who like a little bit more pepper in their soup. He can just add this to his portion of the soup and he will get an additional kick of pepper. So it serves 2 purposes. And guys, look at our soup. Look at how amazing it looks. Just allow it to simmer for a few minutes and your soup is ready to be served. Today we are having it with some banku. You can have it with fufu, with rice by itself, or mutuo. It is super versatile and so delicious. You know the drill, guys. If you like this video, please be sure to give me a thumbs up and remember to tell a friend about my amazing channel, and I will see y'all again very soon. And thank you so much for coming along with me on this delicious journey. Take care, guys. Bye.